Hi, welcome to the video. I'm DB Games and this is a review of Machi Koro 2. I have laid it out in front of you so you can see what it looks like. I'm not going to teach you all the rules. If you want a rules video, then obviously there's lots of them out there already, so I don't want to waste your time. This is the basic setup for a game of Machi Koro 2, and as you can see, it's set up very similarly to how you would see it in Machi Koro 1, especially if you've got the expansions. The layers 1 to 6, the layers 7 to 12, and then the difference here is you've got your landmarks and they're all different. You win by getting the first to 3 landmarks, which means the games are quite short. The only other additions to the rules for Machi Koro 1 is each player starts with 5 coins, either one of these silver or 5 of the bronze, and then you get to buy up to 3 cards in the starting round, so that gives you a difference. And then these 2 dice, you get to choose straight away if you want to roll 1 or 2 dice. Obviously the cards between 1 to 6 are cheaper to buy still, like before, but as you can see out on the board, some of these cards aren't that expensive for the 8, 7, 8, 9 pointers, 10 pointers, 12 pointers, whatever. They're also not as expensive as before, so you've got a good bit of choice to start with on where you want to go, and each player uniquely gets their own unique kind of starting cards. You can have 2 more expensive ones, you can have 1, you can have 3 if you can afford them. So obviously there's some 1-point cards there, you could buy a couple of them, a 2-pointer, a 3-pointer. So you've got some choices at the start, which makes it a bit more interesting than Machi Koro 1. So firstly, straight away I would say over Machi Koro 1, this is the better starter game if you want to just have a quick half an hour to 40-minute game with your family and your kids. This one is more interesting, it's a bit different, you get more stuff coming out, more combinations of things. But it's very similar to Machi Koro 1. I would say this should have been really called Machi Koro 1.2 because it's more of an upgrade than it is a new game. A lot of the art, as you can see here, looks very similar to the old style. This forest looks exactly the same to me. It might be slightly different, but it doesn't look a lot different. Some of the buildings are a bit neater and a bit nicer. And obviously these new ones, like the launch pad, is a new where you can win the game straight away. If you get it as your first card, it's 45 coins, though if it's the second one, it costs you 38. And if it's your final landmark, it's 25, which really wouldn't make sense because the other ones are only 22 as your final. So, you know, if you can get that straight away, brilliant. If you can't, then it's going to be difficult to get. And the same kind of things are in place. It's just red cards get your money from an opponent's roll. Blue cards, anyone gets money from that roll. Green cards, only your own personal rolls get your stuff. It doesn't really feel that much different. The routine's the same, all of the cards are very similar. There's a couple of new things here and there, but not a lot. A couple of these additions are quite nice. The game flow chart is good, it tells you how to play the game if you don't already know, but if you've played number 1 you don't really need this. And the fractional percentages and stuff, well, fractional amounts of how you could get things and what you're most likely to roll on your dice with 1 dice or with 2 dice is a nice addition to those who like the stats and want to really try and grind out the most optimal performance to get a win. But for a game like this, I'm not really sure that's necessary. It's more of a fat light family game. So if you've already got Machi Koro 1, I wouldn't really recommend getting this because it's very similar. If you don't own any Machi Koros, then yeah, this is really good. It's an excellent game. The only one major downside that this suffers from, that also happened in Machi Koro 1, was the game's too short. When you start getting into it and you really feel like something's going, then the game ends. It's half an hour in, you've got 3 of these cards, you've won. Doesn't matter which 3, any 3 is enough. And it really doesn't feel long enough. And that's exactly what happened in Machi Koro 1. To the point where me and my partner will only play Machi Koro 1 if we have the Harbour expansion and the other expansion whose name I've completely forgot. Because that makes it like an hour or a bit longer. It gives you more options, it gives you more things, it gives you more time, it costs more to finish the game. You have to get 6 landmarks in that one. So I would say the optimal Machi Koro experience is actually number 1 with both of the expansions, because that lasts longer, it gives you more stuff. You have to get 6 landmarks to win, so the game is more interesting and more difficult to win. You get more of a chance to build your strategy, and also then the luck of the dice rolls kind of evens out as well as you play. So then maybe these kind of cards will come into effect more in a longer game. But in a short game, the luck isn't really evened out as much. If you play a longer game on Machi Koro 1, yeah, you can then use these cards to be like, oh, yeah, I know 2 dice is going to give me 6 in 36 chance of getting a 7. That's the most optimal number to try and get. Then you can kind of work from there on your strategy maybe. but here that just doesn't have enough time to get going, and I don't really think it lasts long enough. So overall, I would give it a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10 maybe. I'd give it like a 0.5 more than Machi Koro 1 on its own, because it is slightly better and a bit more of a mixed game. But the best experience for Machi Koro is number 1 still, with both expansions in my opinion. So if that's what you're looking for, go and get that if you've already got Machi Koro 1. If you've never played a Machi Koro game and you want a short game for you and your family, then Machi Koro 2 is the way to go. And if you want to just be a complete collector, then get both, but I don't think it's necessary to have 1 and 2. Just not needed. So unfortunately for me, this isn't as good of an improvement as I was hoping for, and not enough of a different experience to really warrant buying if you already own Machi Koro 1. Overall, it's a good game. So those are my thoughts. Please leave a like and subscribe. And if you've got any comments and you want to say what you think about the game, or how you feel it's different, or anything I've really missed or not explained, please leave a message in the comments and I'll get back to you. Thanks very much.